Recently, a colleague at my job asked me, Ludwig, you just love coding, right? When I was telling him about my side project here and how I spend most of my weekends working on it. He said, I mean, dude, you spend the whole week developing software and then on the weekends you just continue doing that stuff for your own project. And yes, I guess he's right. I just love doing that stuff. As you might know, currently I'm doing this experiment in which I try to build this side business by, as you might have guessed, spending a lot of the time coding. Here in this little video today, I want to give a few reasons for what's so cool about it. Alright? Okay, then let's go. One reason that I often mention when people ask me about my job is that I sometimes feel like I'm just getting paid for playing Sudoku all day. When working on implementing something, you basically have a logical challenge you need to solve. And like with these games, you just sit there trying to wrap your head around the problem, coming up with potential solutions, thinking them through and testing them out until you end up with a working result. And when you have been fiddling around with an implementation for like days and it finally starts working, it's just such a great accomplished feeling. Like the one when you solved the Sudoku, just much better. This is, however, only true when you can work on software in this prototyping way, like in a startup, because in larger software companies there's much more maintenance and configuration work involved and less of just hacking code together. But in this indie hacking bubble, we can build software in quite the playful and creative way. And creativity does also now bring me to the next reason. Because when we develop code, there are almost always different ways in which we can achieve our goal and different code patterns we can use to create our logic. And there it is up to you, your preferences, your knowledge, requirements to the software or just to external circumstances, which shape your creation will eventually take. You can just create one huge file, for example, with tens of thousands of lines of code like the Telegram app. Mad respect for these guys, by the way, for keeping an overview there. Or you can create beautiful abstraction layers and design a construct of reusable and one-purpose components and classes. Should it go quick, we can just hack something together, not worrying about the form, or should it be long-living, we can create these sophisticated patterns. And when you're also a creative spirit who likes to build stuff, this is perfect. Although it's very virtual and looks very different to crafting something with your hands, I think there are some parallels to like creating a painting, as there are just so many shapes you can create. Just that in programming, the material we work with is logic and not wood, glass or paint. And unlike art, software is usually not about the central experience, but for doing something practical with it. Like that we, for example, want to use it for automating something, which is also the third reason to love coding. Coding is basically telling a computer what to do. And 70 years ago, when first programming languages were developed, this included not much more than multiplying two numbers or so. Today, this has obviously gotten like a million times more complex, but in the end, you still write line by line what your computer should please do for you. And this gives us endless possibilities for making use of this power of automating things. Like we can do home projects where we can build an automatic plant watering system, which is something I always wanted to do but didn't really come to yet. Or you can write a script that automatically downloads the newest movie recommendations and sends them to you on WhatsApp. Or when you're a pro developer, you can set up machine learning scripts that trade stocks for you and make you rich. I can't even be creative enough to think of the really funny or interesting stuff that you can potentially build. The possibilities are just endless and only limited by your imagination. And now when we think about automating stuff and building software that helps us and could also help other people, the waters of entrepreneurship are of course not far away. Making software is quite the approachable way for when you want to create your own product, because just imagine like you had an idea for the next great desk chair with a massage function and an ice cube dispenser. How much work you would still have to put into it after you finish development of the chair itself. You would need to get it manufactured, manage the logistics, deal with the supply chains and get it into your customer's home. Now imagine software. You do the development and once you have a finished product, you just throw it online and that's basically it. The only logistics infrastructure you need here is an internet connection, and your supply chain does not involve much more than the programming language and the libraries you use. And this does of course result in a much lower market entry barrier, meaning that the competition is higher. But I imagine that the markets are also much more manifold, which means that coupled with creativity, there are always niches to find and to build a product for. And even if this entrepreneurship route is not so much your thing, having an understanding of coding also opens many doors for job opportunities. Because software has become such an integral part of today's world, there are so freaking many job roles these days that require some sort of coding skills. Coding is even titled the most important job skill of the future. And the cool thing about it is that it doesn't require traditional education through like a university program or so. So many people in this field are career jumpers. Like myself, for example, I had learned some very basic programming skills during my studies, but the real entry I made with my first job, where at first I worked on a lot of other things as well, but also on some software, and I was developing myself together with the software I was working on. And then after 1 or 2 years, I was suddenly able to develop software on my own, which was not total crap anymore. Getting familiar with the basics through online classes and working on your first own projects over a year or so brings you already super far. I would even say the first potential job involving coding is then in reach already, and the rest you just learn while doing it. Cool, alright, that is what I wanted to say for now. If you want to know what I create when I'm writing code, check out this recent video I made where I show how I worked on a drag and drop calendar UI for my app. And we will see each other again the next time, and until then, have a fantastic day and see you soon.